Video bandwidth and distribution of Talking Scuba is provided by Blip TV, the next generation television network for independent shows. Do your part by donating today by visiting TalkingScuba.com. Hi everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Talking Scuba. This is episode number 14, and I'm Bob Shoemaker.
And I'm Jim Norton.
We are a weekly show discussing all different types of scuba diving, from cold, deep wrecks to shallow, warm reefs and everything in between. What are you drinking today, Jim?
Hey, I've got a Great Lakes Brewing Company, Burning River. Actually, it's pretty good.
Yep.
A little hoppy, but
not too much. Good. Cool. I'm drinking my usual Land Shark. It's my favorite.
Looks good.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about how we're obsessed with diving. Diving in Lake 16, how you and Derek freed a catfish this week.
Oh, yeah, we did that.
And we're going to discuss dive tables, the importance of dive tables or lack thereof, and the way the industry is changing on its standards on dive tables.
Yes.
So, like, my favorite thing in the world besides drinking, even more than drinking, is definitely scuba diving.
Oh, definitely.
I love it so much. I dream about it. I had a nice dream last night about finding a spring.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And it's just all the time. That's all I think about. Me and Derek were talking the other day. He's getting the same way. Derek got trained a couple of years ago, and then he moved away. Wasn't able to do a lot of scuba diving. Now it's Saturday today, and he's like, man, I haven't been diving at all. And he's like, I dove Wednesday, and that's it. So he's kind of upset about diving. It's just the way you get it. Just get it into your blood, and you're just obsessed with it.
It's a lot of fun.
So that's what I like, you know, especially changing stuff up, diving new pieces of equipment, diving with, you know, new buddies, new locations, always exploring something new.
Yes.
And even the places that you've been for a million dives, you go back and you always find something new.
Oh, yeah.
Whether the visibility is good or bad, I'm always having fun. It's a crazy sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Derek and I last, what was that, Tuesday, I think? We're diving. He was trying out his backpack there. And going over the same area, same lake, same everything the same, but there was something odd about the tire. I looked in the tire, and there's a huge fish, a big fin. And I'm going, wow, what is that? And I thought, oh man, it's a dead fish. It's all black, but it had war spots on its back, and it's right down to where it's blood, and it's actually a little blood there. And I got to looking at it, and it was a catfish, and he was stuck in this tire.
Yeah.
So you never know what you can find.
Yeah.
We ended up spending about 10 minutes freeing him, getting him out of that tire. But like you say, every dive's different. Actually,
the funny thing is, the week before we saw that catfish in the tire, and we thought he was just hanging out, sleeping there.
Yeah, I think he was caught.
Yeah, he must have been caught if he was. So he spent a week there.
Wow.
I just thought he was hanging out in there because, you know, we rarely see those catfish in that lake.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's funny. You got to free him, though, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yep. We rolled the tire. We did everything we could. And that bottom on the lake there is so mucky that you disturb it, you lose all the visibility.
Sure.
And actually, Derek pushed his tail, got his tail out, and he still wouldn't back out of there. So I thought, well, the only one thing to do is that we got to get it so I can see. So I put a bunch of air into BC and lifted the tire up, swam over to the clear water, and by the time I got there, I looked and the tire's gone.
Oh, so he did swim away.
He got out.
Good. Well, let's talk a little bit about the dive tables. I know PADI and SSI are starting to eliminate the use of dive tables in the instruction, strictly going to a computer-based system where they're kind of requiring all divers to dive with modern diving equipment, which most people would say is the dive tables. But I've done a lot of talking to different dive shops around the area, and they're all still teaching the dive tables.
Yeah, well, I think there's maybe a little bit of commercializing here. They're trying to sell dive computers, might be possibly part of it. But I really think that teaching the dive tables gives you a basic understanding of the correlation between being deep and the amount of time you're spending there.
And what that results in.
Exactly, and how dangerous it can be or how safe it can be.
And there's organizations like SDI, which is another certification besides SSI, PADI now, the rest of them. SDI, I think, started off in like 1998. They've never taught the dive tables. And they have an interesting thought, and they teach that you always are suffering from decompression sickness. Just to what amount or to what degree do you have it? So it's kind of an interesting way to look at things. But I think that the dive tables really are one of the best ways, or at least the best way that I know of right now, to show that relationship between depth and time and how that affects the body.
Yes. And what happens when the dive computer quits?
Well, technically, you know, the way SSI teaches right now, if your dive computer goes out, you're done with that dive. You're aborting that dive and you're done for the day, because you can't go back and retroactively figure out your dive tables, because you're doing multi-level diving essentially, and it's taking that into consideration. So I don't know if not teaching the dive tables is such a great idea, because just like I said, it does teach that relationship. Along the lines of what you were saying, the commercialization, selling those dive computers, it's a great thing, but it's technology, and what does technology do?
Yeah, a lot of times it fails.
Yep. So I'm always kind of along the lines of the keep it simple, stupid.
Here you go.
Kind of theory, and switching back to these back plates or the backpacks, diving with some of that retro gear has taught me a lot about, man, I am just over geared. And we're diving with Johnny B. Johnny B is a Christmas tree diver. He's got all sorts of crap hanging off of him, and it just looks ridiculous.
Well, it depends. You got to have the equipment for the job.
Yeah.
But when you're diving in Lake 16 and you're only going to 70 feet or something like that, you really don't need lift bags and.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get it out of any situation that you have, especially if you're diving nitrox. You're not going to be building up a huge amount of nitrogen. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous, all the gear that they're trying to sell to us and have attached to our BCs. Certain things, obviously, we have to have.
Yes.
But I think that people get obsessed with gear, and and that's certainly one of the appeals to the sport. Being able to
buying gear. Far be it for me to knock that. I love to buy gear.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to buy gear. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And like I say, you got to have the right tools for the right job.
But one of the key things I think in controlling your buoyancy and getting comfortable in the water is reducing the amount of gear that you have attached to you, and you just become much more comfortable when you're not fiddling around with stuff all the time.
Well, yeah, and then you get good. Then when you do add the gear, it's not a problem.
Right. So maybe taking that, buying a video camera or buying a camera, a still camera, and taking that on your very first dive at a location might not be the best idea. Figure out your buoyancy. I cannot emphasize how important buoyancy is to people. You're crashing into the reef. You want to take better pictures? You want to take better video? Get better at your buoyancy.
Yep.
You want to get better air consumption? Get better at your buoyancy. I think everything stems from good buoyancy. And I think we talked about it last week or something.
Yes.
Buoyancy is so critical.
That's important, as well as having the same gear. Using your own gear, buying your own equipment gives you the foundations and the ease of using your own equipment
there's definitely a learning curve no matter what. When you're diving consistent gear week after week, that learning curve is sharply drops off, and you're just able to get more comfortable much more quickly. So when you're adding in a new camera or a new location, a different suit, maybe a hood. I've seen people become completely, that I've had good dives with, when they're just diving a regular wetsuit, but you add a hood or you add gloves to them, and all of a sudden they're not comfortable anymore.
Right.
So, having those foundations, diving the same BC, that's really critical. Diving the same tank, diving with different tanks all the time is going to affect your buoyancy. Again, we'll go back to buoyancy. Regulators that are properly maintained and breathe well. Just getting comfortable with all that gear. Where is my knife located?
Yep.
Where is my inflator deflator? Like I dive, my inflator deflator is down on my side, whereas most are up on the shoulder. Getting comfortable with those different variables. Like you say, you're just going to learn how to be a better diver sooner.
Absolutely.
And it's a really critical part to being a good diver. So we were talking about dive tables, but we got off on a side tangent there. So sometimes that's what happens here on Talking Scuba. But that's all we got time for today. So I want to remind everybody to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and visit our website, talkingscuba.com, to review all the show notes and links. And if you would like to have your email read on the air, fans@talkingscuba.com, and we look forward to reading those on the next show. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you next week.
Till next time.
Till the next dive. Cheers.
Still better than ice.